to celebrate love and harmony in every key, in every color. As I look out on this audience, I'm delighted to see the faces of 33 couples who've chosen this moment to celebrate their vows with us here in Los Angeles.
Direct to the MetLife Stadium.
U.S. Customs SWAT officers are flying surveillance missions over MetLife Stadium and Manhattan. New York Police Hercules teams are mounting a show of force in Times Square. New Jersey State Police river patrols are watching from the water. And TSA officers armed with radiation detectors are sweeping train platforms at Penn Station. In the Boston Marathon attack last April, there were 2 backpacks with bombs. There was no warning before the explosions. Venezuela's worries about a similar homegrown lone wolf attack.
You will not see any daylight between us and the federal agencies, the state agencies. We will be working intimately in every phase of these types of events.
That's not always been the case. Relations between the FBI and New York police have often been strained.
It's not every day that the New York City Police Commissioner stands next to the Assistant Director of the FBI. This is kind of a new day of sorts.
We're going to be joined at the hip.
Officials don't want this to look like a police state scout.
You think this can last? There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne.
The last Super Bowl was played right here.
Jason, tell me it was a classic.
Classic game. 80,000 people on their feet. Seconds left on the clock. So Hubie throws a Hail Mary. Touchdown! 166, back online.
source, and I'm not going to say anything about the source, because if this does go hot and live, which I have a feeling it could potentially, it doesn't matter how many people see this, they've been playing this for too long, it usually does, that we all need to pray. Hello. For reasons soon to be obvious to you, I will not introduce myself, nor any of the followers who have contributed to this notification. We have been involved with the construction and operation of the new MetLife Stadium at the Meadowlands Sports Complex. Some of our involvement precedes the groundbreaking, and some of our involvement is current. From here on, I will refer to the upcoming Super Bowl as the Treason Bowl. From the start, design stages, plans have been made for the stadium and the American Dream Meadowlands complex to host a well-planned false flag event, so grand that one would think it was planned in the offices of Joseph Goebbels himself. This has been in the works for at least 6 years. The highlight of this treason will be the worldwide live television coverage of this abomination of civilization. This promotion of fear and horror is hoped to inspire the masses of the world to willfully submit their eradication of rights given to us by God. In the very design of the stadium, spots were planned for the placement of bombs, and not to immediately kill the stadium guests, but to entrap the guests. The bomb placements are for the creation of choke points to control the movement of the guests. Remember, the highlight is the international live broadcast of the desperate human suffering. It will be first answered by militarized police and thug-like New Jersey State Police, but to only be resolved by U.S. Army troops from Fort Dix. The fix is in, racketeering at its finest hour. You may notice that the New Jersey State Police Sports Complex unit has a noticeable high percentage of troopers that are very big, look like thugs, and we assure you, act like thugs. 7 of us have witnessed experiences with them, with varying degrees of rudeness, misery, and disgust. There are traitors within this local state police force who will be enabling the apparent foreigners in the stadium and in the whole complex. It has been harder for us to be exact with the numbers of U.S. federal agents in on the false flag fix, but we have confirmed they to be from DHS, NSA, FBI, and Blackwater. Those of you who don't know what Blackwater is, it's a private organization with Navy SEAL types. They're the people who kill for money, and they don't care. And that's disgusting. For the Treason Bowl, there may be as many as 11 armed foreign terrorists in the stadium itself, being another 8 of them in the rest of the complex, including Meadowlands Station. A heavier-than-air poison gas will be brought in with the CO2 canisters that are used by soft drink vendors. It will not be a quick killer as chlorine gas, but rather a gas that causes more physical contortions and suffering for high-impact live video. This is not a game, and I'm so fed up with people thinking it'd be funny or cool or whatever to watch this stuff on TV. And that's you, the powers that be. I'm so sick of you. That's me speaking. This heavier-than-air poison will first target the field level. Most notably, the athletes on the field. Specific placement of bombs will ensure that no one leaves the field level. ALA, the closed choke points. False flag Islamic demands will be posted for the release of freedom fighters. This is where I'm telling you, this organization, Freedom Fighters 2127, the YouTube channel, the website, we are in no way affiliated with who they are discussing and talking about here. The release of freedom fighters in Guantanamo, but primarily for the exit of the U.S. forces from Afghanistan. For those of you who haven't figured it out yet about the extensively drawn-out Afghan occupation by a supposedly mighty military with untold hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military resources and high-tech intelligent resources, against an outmanned and outgunned rebel alliance with a mysterious decade-plus bottomless supply of resources. It's all about the 3 pipelines. The now complete Caspian Sea oil and natural gas pipelines to China and points in between, and the heroin pipeline to developed countries in the West, especially our country. The continuing vagueness of the Afghan occupation should be as obvious as the nose on your face and should consume your curiosity. The lot of us are amazed how this realization escapes the most of you. Of course, our senses are heightened on this matter, having learned for the past 6 years of the pending evil and doom of the 2014 Treason Bowl. There were scattered warnings before the successful treasonous coup d'etat of September 11th. The warnings were not heeded, mostly because such a display of treason wasn't so believable at the time, as much as it is believable now. After that event, those previous warnings were given the status as if they came from the Bellevue Nut Ward. Sorry, I can't read. It's really small writing, even though the event itself showed the warnings to be very accurate. And aside here, one of us has a relative who was one of the many NYFD officers who heard the meticulous floor-by-floor demolition explosives in the World Trade Towers. The obvious but never to be explained breakdown of the taxpayer-financed multi-hundred-billion-dollar-a-year U.S. intelligence community is well underway again. You must recognize that treasonous or orchestrations of such grand scale can only be accomplished with the bottomless pockets of intel agencies, with secrecy as their ally. Rest assured that treason is the correct word for the event. The former military explosives experts of contractor Blackwater will be placing the bombs. We are told that the FBI is complete with the fabrication of evidence. This reminds me of the NY State Trooper C evidence fabricating scandal. This time it's federal, with NJ State Police help and much bigger targets. DHS gumshoes have covertly infested the operations of the whole complex, supplying reports as to the progress of the logistics of this fabulous false flag murder fest, and hoping to identify any Meadowlands complex workers who may be getting savvy to the treasonous ploy of federal agencies and subversive NJ State Police. The daily security of MetLife Stadium currently is anal retentive and far beyond what our contemporaries, it's hard to read. I've got it on such a small screen, at other sports arenas have reported in their facilities. Specific state police officers are tasked to enable the alleged terrorists to their assigned placement for the horrendous and sinister festivities in the first half of the third quarter. That's roughly about the time in Beyonce's Super Bowl last year that the lights went out, when this conspiracy theory will no longer be a theory. DHS appears to be the overall planners and coordinators while drawing upon the resources of other federal groups, especially the NSA. The NSA seems to have the planned psychological blueprint for the multiple day death, horror, and hostage event. Psychological operations have been part of their original mission since 1952 to counter the brainwashing of Korean War captives. NSA has always done psycho activities and blamed the CIA for most of it. Our hope here is that the Treason Bowl could be abated per this warning. Much depends on high visibility circulation of this warning. Just the same, you may want to cheer for your favorite team to lose in the conference finals in triple overtime, of course. Good night and good luck. Wow. That is so aggravating. And I know that people are saying, whatever you do, don't watch that Super Bowl. I've heard it a few times. All I can say is, if this does come to pass, the world will never be the same ever again. And I know that's thinking quite largely because this is just America. And if you look at Syria, that's happening already with gas bombs and stuff and chemical warfare. But this is America. Yes, that's a third world country. And yes, pray for the lives lost there, the children that die there because of U.S. funded guns. But this is America. Most people would say that this would never happen in America. Still, to this day, they'd say that. They'd say that the government was never responsible for 9/11, when really they are, and they were. I've done a previous video on the Super Bowl and trying to expose what could potentially take place there. When I originally read this, I was dumbfounded to think that, oh my goodness, this could potentially happen. the days match up. It's the 33rd day of the year. They were talking about moving it, but I think that's just another joke just to try and get you off track here with figuring out what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of talk is coming about for this coming week, the Super Bowl week, the Sochi Olympics, the economic defaults. Out of all that, this one has the potential to be the bloodiest so far. This would surely bring about World War III. Let's pray.
Super Bowl 48 takes over New Jersey, and this morning law enforcement officials are hurrying to make sure one of the world's most watched sporting events is also the safest. Terrell Brown is outside MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford. Terrell, good morning.
Nora, good morning to you. Security preparations started about 4 years ago when MetLife Stadium was first awarded the Super Bowl. Since then, security teams have gone to the last 3 Super Bowls, taking a look at what went right and learning from what went wrong. Law enforcement officials say they're ready for anything.
Our tactical teams have been training throughout the year for different scenarios to include active shooter, bomb threats, and hazards related to chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear threats.
As early as a week before the game, MetLife Stadium will go into lockdown with a perimeter fence and vehicle checkpoints. Come game day, fans can expect airport-type screening and then some. 4,000 officers from more than 100 agencies will flank the stadium. SWAT team divers, sniffer dogs, bomb units, and even a mobile hospital, complete with a surgery ward, will be in place.
We're approaching it basically from an air, land, and sea concept, and hopefully none of this will come to fruition, but we have to be prepared to take any of this on.
The federal government has considered the Super Bowl a Level 1 national security event since the September 11th attacks. And with the heart of Manhattan set to transform into Super Bowl Boulevard, security measures will stretch far beyond the stadium itself.
Nobody at this table needs to be reminded in the shadow of the World Trade Center how important this event is to make people safe in our region.
So not only are there security preparations, but in the event of a snowstorm, there are 900 plows on standby. And as for the possibility of another halftime blackout, we're told that there is a power backup and a backup for that backup. So we shall see, Charlie.
Make sure history doesn't repeat itself.
The last Super Bowl was played right here.
Jason, tell me it was a classic.
Classic game. 80,000 people on their feet.
See, can you see by the dawn's
There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. You and your friends better batten down the hatches.
What does that mean?
Rise.
how I got introduced to the music industry. Because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.